Do you think there is any man who can work 14 long years if it means he would end up being with a woman that he truly loves? Today in our video, we will be discussing some extreme ways by which some prominent men in the Bible got their wives. Well, you can open up your Bible so you follow up with me. So that in case I'm mixing things up, you can always point out in the comment section that no, you said this, it wasn't right, you said this, but today we'll be looking at that exactly. And without wasting any more of your time, let us get straight into the ways wives were gotten in the days of the Bible. So the very first person that got a wife in the most extreme way that sometimes when I think about it, I'm still marveled was Jacob. Imagine Jacob had to work for 7 long years just because he wanted to get Rachel to be his wife. He worked for this long just to be deceived in the end, and he was given Leah instead. Jacob was a really brave man to me. He was. He still decided that he was going to work for another 7 years, making it a total of 14 years, 10 plus 4, 14 long years, just to get Rachel to be his wife. He must really have loved Rachel to the core, like more like the love Christ have for the church. I cannot even imagine that happening in this dispensation. No man in this dispensation would want to work for that long just to get a woman's hand in marriage. What happens these days? Well, if they ask you out and you're even proving difficult to get, they just move on to the next lady. Which man has a year, 2 years, or even 3 years to spend trying to get a woman's attention or trying to get a woman to marry them? But we see Jacob toiling on and on and on for 17 long years, for 14 long years, just to get Rachel's hand in marriage. I think Jacob deserved a hand clap. He did well. And the second person, when I think of that got married, got a wife that, well, to me is extreme, is Samson. We see Samson just sees a girl. He likes her. He tells his parents that, well, I want this girl. Go get her for me. And his parents are objecting that no, you cannot marry this girl because she's not from the same she's not from the same tribe like us. We're supposed to marry within us, the Israelites. And he's like, no, I insist. Go get me this girl. And that is exactly what happens. Imagine that happening in this generation today. You just walk down the street for the guys, you just walk down the street and the guy sees you and is like, this is the girl I want. You should go get me this girl. And you're this girl, and they just approach you like, okay, Samson says that he likes you and he would want you to be his wife. Just follow us and become Samson's wife. Who does that? Can that even happen in this dispensation? You might likely even find yourself in prison serving some jail term somewhere. A third person is Moses. I'm sure we all remember how Moses got his wife. All he needed to do, I think his was pretty easy anyway. All he needed to do was impress his father-in-law by helping the ladies feed their flocks, give them water to drink, and that was how he earned himself favor and finally got a wife in that situation. Whew. How wish it was that easy to get wives in this generation. Like all you needed to do is just feed some animals, give them water to drink, and in the end, you're rewarded with a wife. And the next person that equally got a wife in a way that is not applicable in this generation at all. This one you should not even try it, because if you try it, come on, it's jail straight for you. And that is David. David virtually killed someone. He killed someone to get his wife, to have his widow as his wife. We are talking about Bathsheba, Solomon's mother. He killed this woman's husband just because he wanted this woman. Well, and he really happened to pay for it anyway, because I remember the guilt he felt after that so much that he had to go. And that was where we got Psalms 51, from where he's crying for mercy, God should forgive him. Well, that psalm was written after that act of murder had been committed by him. And that brings us to the very next person that got a wife in a very absurd way, Solomon. Sometimes I sit and I'm like, what did Solomon actually tell all of these women to have had 700 wives and 300 concubines? I think Solomon's case is actually a true representative of the saying that you should follow money and women would follow you, or follow wealth and have wealth and women would follow you, because I still cannot understand how Solomon convinced all of these women. He had 1,000 women to himself. Can you imagine that? Can you even beat that? 1,000 women for one man. How did he do it? What did he say? I think some of the men of this generation have to actually go back in time and let Solomon teach them how to actually get to convince a woman to be theirs. Solomon was indeed a wise man, and his wisdom wasn't only limited to solving problems in his clan, in his kingdom. It was equally extended to getting the most beautiful women for himself. Another person that got married in a way that I think some cultures in Africa still practice this anyway. The waiting for your brother to die, then you inheriting his widow. Yes, I think Onan in the Bible, that was what happened, and Boaz too. That was how he got to marry Ruth. Ruth was one of his kinsmen's widow, and he just ended up inheriting Ruth, and that was it for him. And the next way the patriarchs in the Bible got wives was buy a piece of land, and the woman was extra package that came with the deal. Still with the case of Boaz and Ruth, that was how Boaz got Ruth to marry him as a wife. Because we see that in Boaz and Ruth's situation, we said there was actually another kinsman who was next in line to marry Ruth before Boaz could even think of it. So what Boaz had to do was, okay, if you can buy this piece of land, know that this piece of land comes with Ruth as a wife. And it happened that this kingsman, already had actually forgotten his name, already had a lot of wives and a family to cater for. So Ruth to him would have been an extra luggage, which he didn't want. So he was like, okay, Boaz, you can go on ahead, get the piece of land and add Ruth to it. I would have loved to get a piece of land if it meant that I will not be adding Ruth to it. But since if I must have this piece of land, I must have Ruth to as a wife, then I would rather not. So you can go on ahead, have the piece of land that comes with Ruth. So that was how Boaz and Ruth came to be together. He had to buy a piece of land to get Ruth as his wife. And that brings us to the next person that got married in a very absurd way in the Bible. Okay, so imagine going to a party with friends to have a dance, have fun, and one man just pops out from nowhere and he's like, okay, I like you, you're beautiful, and he just carries you home and you become a wife. That is how the Benjamites got their wives. All they needed to do was go to a party when the beautiful girls come out to dance, and they just pick up one and go home with her, and that is how she becomes their wife. No questions, nothing, nothing, nothing. You are a wife. Prophet Hosea rather got his wife. Well, he just found a prostitute and marry. That is it. Then you could equally decide to do what King Ahasuerus did. Organize, but this one is strictly for the very wealthy people. I still see some kingdoms do that. We see them in Nigerian movies where an emperor or a king throws a very big competition where maidens come, they dance, they showcase their skills, their cooking prowess, and things like that. And at the end, the king selects his wife. That was exactly how Esther was married to replace Queen Vashti. Can you imagine that? But today, these things are just no longer applicable. They are no longer applicable. Imagine, I don't even think any woman would want to just be carried away from a party home as a wife. Well, before we continue talking on this, I actually have a favor to ask of you, and I really, 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 really pray that you grant me this favor. Please, 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 please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and subscribing to this channel, I promise you that we would bring you very interesting and transparent videos on relationships. Here we'll be answering all of your questions on relationship, love, marriage, from a point of knowledge from the Bible, from very interesting, well-learned men. Yes, and you would have absolutely nothing to worry about. All you need to do is leave these questions for us in the comment section, and we will answer each and every one of them. And liking this video means that, well, you've had fun watching this and you equally want others to watch it. So when you like the video, YouTube pushes it up to others so they too can watch. And well, you can go one step further by sharing this video with those in your social circle, maybe on WhatsApp, Facebook, just anywhere, so someone can know that we are actually reviewing the various ways men of the Bible got married, that if you were to try them today, you would end up being wifeless for the rest of your life. And well, I'm still waiting for you to comment. I'm still waiting for you to subscribe. So when you are done subscribing, please just drop it in the comment section. I have subscribed. Yes, go on ahead and subscribe. Okay, thank you for subscribing. Now this brings us to the very end of our videos. Thank you so very much for watching up until this end, and I cannot go without thanking my returning viewers for always being here to watch, to like, leaving us comments in the comment section, and always sharing our videos. Thank you so very much. You're the very reason why we have not quit YouTube yet, and hey, we are not going to be quitting anytime soon. So you can find very interesting content on this channel on relationships, how to take care of your man, the biblical standards you should be looking for while looking for a guy or a woman to settle down with, some things you must have before you ever think of getting married, how to enjoy your single life, and we equally have a video here of some mistakes Christian singles do that keeps them single even longer. So as you continue to prosper in your new year, do not forget that the Bible should be your standard for good living. Take care.